The weird scene frightened me so much that I didn't react until my wife pulled me out of the house. After I left, I thought about it. There was a smoke alarm in the room. My wife burned paper money for 2 consecutive nights, but the smoke alarm in the room didn't go off. I just smelled the smell of burning paper, but didn't see any smoke. But how could it be? How could there be no smoke when burning things? Where did the smoke go? I was so frightened that I couldn't sleep well for the next few days and had nightmares. In the dream, I ran back and forth in the hotel corridor and finally ran to the stairwell. But whether I wanted to go up or down, I would only stay on the same floor. The specific floor number was invisible. I only remembered that in the dream I ran into the guest room, opened the window, and wanted to jump in, but every time I was blown out of the door by the wind. Someone said in my ear that there was only one way to get out, and someone had to be willing to let me have a surrogate birth. This cannot be explained as a simple daytime dream, but everything has cause and effect. Not long after returning from Genting Hotel, my wife showed signs of labor. The doctor said that more than 9 months is not bad. It's just a week early, and natural birth is the best for the child. The private hospital has very good service. There are dedicated people to accompany the entire delivery process. They also have a very popular link now. The husband accompanies the delivery, and then cuts the umbilical cord by hand to welcome the birth of the baby. Of course, I will not refuse this. Women have a hard time being pregnant, and I should accompany her when she is in the most pain. My wife's delivery process went smoothly. As a new father, I was very nervous. The hospital was afraid that I would faint due to excitement and blood phobia, so they specially sent a nurse to accompany me. We decided to give birth in water a long time ago. At that time, the doctor helped my wife into the pool, and I was nervously holding her hand beside her, comforting her and cheering her up. Giving birth, the lower body is naked. The doctor wanted my wife to take off her clothes, because the water was warm and she would not catch a cold. But my wife insisted not to. The long hem of her clothes covered her thighs. She sat in the water and tried her best to squeeze. My hands turned white. It was then that I realized that when people are in extreme pain, their facial features can be distorted to such an extent. My wife was like a different person. No, to be precise, her face was no longer human, but more like a ghost in a horror movie. I was scared by her, and it was not because of the way she looked when giving birth. What scared me was that she was in the water, kicking her legs in pain and struggling constantly, so her clothes floated to the surface of the water, and I looked down at the edge of the pool and could see her belly that she had been covering. There was a human face with all the facial features, making the same expression as my wife. And that face was very familiar to me, because I had seen it in my dream. In the dream, this face grew on my body, grinning and talking to me. At this moment, I suddenly realized that what I saw in Genting Hotel was not a towel, but the lips of that face. Just when I was so scared that I almost fell into the pool, my wife had already delivered the baby's head. The baby's head was facing up, and because it was just born, there was still blood on its face. In other words, I saw 3 faces by the pool: my wife's upper abdomen, and the child's. The 3 faces had the same distorted facial features and the same painful expression. I fainted, and when I opened my eyes again, I was already in the ward. The doctor said that I fainted when the baby just showed his head, and told me that my wife gave birth to another baby boy, and both mother and child were safe. I asked what was going on with that face. The doctor looked at me in surprise and asked the nurse to take my temperature. I grabbed his sleeve and asked him at the fastest speed what was going on with the face on my wife's belly. The doctor said I must have been stimulated by watching my wife giving birth. My wife didn't even have stretch marks on her belly, so how could she have a face? I didn't believe it. I saw it with my own eyes several times. How could it be fake? To comfort me, the doctor took the video of the birth process. From my wife entering the pool to me fainting, the horrible scene I had seen did not appear from beginning to end. In the video, my wife was concentrating on giving birth, while I sat by the pool in a daze. After a while, I fell down and fainted. My mind was in a mess. The doctor said I was too nervous, and I would be fine if I relaxed. He kindly opened the curtain and let me see my wife and the child. I saw my wife in the bed next to me, holding the child and feeding, using a bottle, just as she said at the beginning. She had no breast milk. She gently rocked the child in her arms, her eyes full of love and reverence, as if the child was her only God. I saw this look and this expression when we first met. I saw it when she held her belly and talked to her unborn child in the bathroom of Genting Hotel. Now, I saw it again. I also heard her whisper, "I'm sorry, but everything went well. I am not her God. That face, or rather, this child is." And the baby slowly turned his head from my wife's arms at this moment, as if he noticed my gaze. He looked at me with innocent eyes, smiled gently, and his green fangs flashed across his lips. He smacked his lips a few times, and I heard the shrill cry of the mouse cub before it died, when it was crushed by the stone pestle in the small pharmacy. Squeak! I fainted again out of fear at that time, and it was 3 months later that I woke up again. As soon as I opened my eyes, the tip of my nose was filled with the pungent smell of disinfectant, and everything around me was dazzlingly white. I was still in the hospital. At this time, a man walked in. I felt that his face was a little familiar, but I couldn't remember it. He seemed to see through my thoughts. He called himself Kin Feng and said that he was my wife's ex-boyfriend. I suddenly realized that we had met once in Genting Hotel in Malaysia. At that time, he told me in the bathroom that my wife had two faces. Unexpectedly, he happened to be a doctor in this hospital. He was not surprised by my coma, but took it for granted. I asked him what disease I had, and he said two words that terrified me: plague. Kin Feng told me that I was not completely in a coma during these 3 months. Sometimes I would wake up for a while and sign the documents in person to transfer all my property to my wife, but I couldn't remember it at all.